Hello everyone, Christoph here with another time-lapse video. So just put this together the other day just for fun, why not? Thought I'd talk about creating clean sculpts and yeah, so let's get started. So the idea is here that I block in everything with very simple shapes. You want to start as simple as possible and then start adding in all the details after. If you start adding details in too soon, then that's when things start getting lumpy and weird, and no one likes a lumpy model. No, that's that's not that's not very pleasant. Yeah, so as you can see here, I just block in the head, the torso, put in the ears, and then I'll put in the eyes. The eyes are actually extremely important with getting the shape of the face right. If you leave them out, then it's really hard to figure out all the proportions and things. So I try to get those in as quickly as possible. It's actually also very important with keeping your mesh clean because it allows me to figure out those forms early on as opposed to trying to figure out the forms when I've added in a little bit too much detail. It's also hard to tell here, but I kept the resolution of the mesh, or the number of polygons, really low. I tend to keep it as low as possible for as long as possible. Again, if you start adding too many subdivision levels or too much density, mind you, it just becomes very difficult to deal with, and that's when you start getting lumpy meshes. Because it's a fast sculpture, I just decided to focus on what's important. So normally I would try to refine the anatomy a bit more, but I'm willing to just sacrifice some of the stuff that gets covered up by things like hair. Um, and it also really helps to get that stuff blocked in earlier because it really gives you the essence of the character you're trying to make. So yeah, just blocked all that stuff in. You'll also notice that I have pretty clean topology on a lot of the little excess parts. Uh, for things like hair, eyelashes, eyebrows, I actually run a zero mesh as opposed to a what's it called? Dynamesh. Yeah, yeah. The Dynamesh is good when you're trying to get the forms down, but if you already have the shape that you want, I tend to just go and do a zero mesh right away. That also really helps with keeping things clean, because then you don't have a bunch of weird geometry creating pinches in areas that you don't want. Similarly to the goggles, I did a zero mesh as well. So again, I'm just putting in the time just to make sure those edges are really clean and sharp. Uh, I actually decided to put those goggles in a little bit earlier just because I wanted to know how the hair needed to wrap around. So it's noticeable that I actually started with the hair at the beginning, but then stopped and moved on to the other features. Just again, that just to get everything to work together. Another thing that I would actually want to note is about the hair, that I'm actually breaking it up into chunks as opposed to keeping it all one solid mass and trying to sculpt it. This allows me just to get all the shapes that I want and then not have to worry about things kind of blending together or having to worry about Dynamesh or anything. I can keep my topology fairly clean and not have to, you know, not have to worry about anything too much. In this particular sculpt, I don't end up combining the pieces, but a lot of times I will. It depends on where I'm going. This particular character, which is if you didn't realize by now, is Tracer from Overwatch. Um, yeah, the game's coming out soon, so I thought I'd just make a sculpt of that. Why not? It's fun. It's important to keep projects fun. And yeah, so I just block all that in. Yeah, so this character has like very defined chunks of hair, so I didn't really feel the need to combine it at the end. But if, say, it was like the character with longer hair, or it was smoother, or one solid shape, I would probably Dynamesh it at the end and then clean it up. But I would avoid doing that until the very last moment. Yeah. Another thing here is I originally tried to just extract this from the model just to create a nice jacket shape, but then it I didn't feel like I'd get the cleanliness that I wanted out of it, so I decided just to do a quick little topology thing with the Z spheres and create the mesh that way. That way, I'd have nice clean geo, and I'd know that the results would be smooth. Now that I've gotten most of the parts blocked in, I went in there and started refining the face a little bit more. I tend to flip back and forth quite a bit. That's another actual important point to make. Just the idea of not going too far with any one piece. You want to just keep everything to a similar level and then build it up all together, just for the sake of just keeping it consistent and knowing what you're working on, making sure that you're not leaving anything out. Yeah, I was just experimenting with putting a lower eyelash in there. I decided to take it out in the end. It was a little bit noisy from afar. I want to keep this extremely simple, right? So I didn't want any extra stuff. Throwing in some straps now, putting in a few more parts. Again, similar to the hair, I use Z-Remesh as opposed to Dynamesh. For things that I already know what the shape is going to be, I'll always Z-Remesh. Now, for things like the head, I didn't necessarily know where I'd place the nose or the ears or any of the features or things like that. So I knew that I was going to take extra geo and then kind of try to weld them together. So there was no reason to do a Z-Remesh. Another thing I guess I could talk about is just my methodology for doing fast little sculpts like this. I tend to obviously create the underlying form first, which is the head. So I just created the head first, and I will try to limit creating anything from scratch completely. I'll always just extract things from that base object. That way everything is in the position I want it to be. I don't have to worry about positioning things afterwards, unless it was something that specifically needed to be super symmetrical. I suppose probably should have done that for this piece, but it seemed to work all right. I'm not too worried. Again, it's just something fast, so as long as it looks nice, it's all good. I was playing around with like the bevel features and stuff too to get the kind of edges I wanted. I really do have to spend the time to start learning the new Z modeler tools, but so far these basic bevels that you can implement have been serving me really well, so I haven't found the need quite yet. To create these like little slits here, I just used the insert, or it was like group loops, I believe, under the edge loop tab, and you just like hide an area of a mesh, and it'll just create an edge loop on either side of the part of the mesh that you have isolated. It's pretty handy if you want to add in extra edge loops in specific places. And adding a little bit of an offset just allows you to create insets. That's also just a setting that's right there in the edge loop tab. Alright, just adding in a few more details. Normally, if I was going to spend more time on this, I would have created those pieces a little bit better. I just used a fill hole algorithm on the ends after just cutting it out at the base of the mask. It doesn't have to be too perfect, not for something like this. Alright, again going back and adding a few more details to the head. Realistically, I should have z-remeshed this by now. I don't end up doing that, but I really should have, because that would have really helped with the eyes. I don't know if you could tell or not, but the eyes are very jaggy, and that's just because it's a Dynamesh, and you don't really get good results out of that. And yeah, so now that I have all the hair blocked in too, I just go in and add some little details here. This is also something I would do before combining all the pieces, because if you were trying to sculpt those slits and then but then there was a hair chunk that goes underneath another one, it would be really hard to get a nice clean continuous line coming out from the root of the head. Sorry if this part isn't particularly fun to watch, it's a little bit repetitive. Alright, and color. Yes, color is one of the best parts, because that's when everything comes together. Oh, one thing I actually didn't note that I should have noted right at the beginning was I tend to keep everything in perspective mode for most of the time. Because if you work in orthographic, you might end up sculpting it into perspective, if that makes any sense. So if you sculpt, but then you assume that it's supposed to be in perspective, you start to create distortions to the object or face or whatever you're creating that makes it look like it's in perspective. But and then when you put perspective on, then you'd get like a double perspective, which looks really weird. The only time I take it out of perspective is just to put in things like eyes or something, just to make sure that I can position it in a 2D space. And that's it. There it is. A little bit of a turntable, and yeah, there you go. Fun stuff. And yeah, if anyone has any questions, I did speak a little bit fast, so if you need more clarity, just put a question in the chat, and I'd be happy to make more videos, talk about other things, and see where it goes from there. Anyway, have a good one. Enjoy whichever day it is that you're watching this on.